Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Future Proof Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Muller, and my guest today is Martin Rowinski from Boardsi. Martin, how you doing? You and I go way back.
Way back.
Yeah. So I've known Martin for a long time, and Martin has an unbelievable platform. So, Martin, just tell everybody, kind of introduce yourself a little bit for all of our viewers, and then we'll get into kind of your career journey.
Yeah, you know, my journey goes way back. I was born and raised in Poland when it was communist. So, you know, being funny, diving into that tech world, you know, would seem natural for me since there's a lot in the Eastern Europe that end up in the tech world.
By leaps and bounds, and really talented people in Eastern Europe.
And on top of that, when I came to US, I was in Bay Area. Ooh, coincidence.
Yeah. Yes.
So, you know, I kind of grew up around technology, was always interested in it. I've been in tech since Commodore 64 and kind of been upgrading since then. Went to school. At first, I thought I wanted to do programming. So, of course, I started in computer science, hated it. I mean, absolutely hated it.
You and I talked. I was the same major, and I hated it too.
Wrong idea. So I switched it, but stayed within the tech industry. I switched it to MIS or CIS, Computer Information Systems. So still stayed in that industry, but a little bit different. Had a great opportunity, which is why I said MIS. Right out of college, got a MIS director position at a pretty small startup and grew with them and just really fell back in love with what originally fascinated me, which was entrepreneurship. So worked with two founders that were just phenomenal, had a great time with them. Some promises that were made didn't come to fruition. That's okay. Moved on from there. So I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been in and out of quite a few different industries. So I'm very used to change and adapting. You know, one thing that always stays the same, data and tech, and how can you apply tech to whatever you're doing. So
Absolutely.
Automation has been a key for me in everything I've ever done. So pretty much that's my story leading up to what I'm doing right now or been doing for the last 7 years. I'm one of a few co-founders at Boardsi or Boardsi, potato. Still the same.
I think you pronounce it better than me the right way.
But yeah, I got together with some of my co-founders from a previous company, which was a SEO company, after doing a consulting gig for 3 years. And I've done a lot of consulting over years. And I think this is where my passion came from Boardsi. I've done consulting, never had any equity in a company. I've had great successes helping companies be sold to a publicly traded company, help the company structure to be ready to go public, and never got the benefit of getting anything out of it as far as equity. So kind of missed the boat. So then I was looking for advisory work, get some equity or possibly get on a board and get some equity and really help a company grow, and found a gap. There wasn't really a platform out there that can guide you along the way to find that or have listed opportunities. So, you know, we started very simple, what I like to call a job board, or what some of us laugh about and say we were, you know, like in the love matchmaking, we were the corporate matchmaker, but it was just a job platform where you can apply to positions, and we had a network of executives, and that has evolved into a full-fledged, what we call Boardsi Board Suite, which is now we offer board education. We've always done the profile, but now we put together a executive impact report. We help executives become thought leaders by featuring them with a biography and then allowing them write thought leadership articles. So we've gotten very involved in a career path and helping executives go from point A of here I am, I've never been on a board, or maybe I have been on a board before, to get you ready and prepared to go and serve on a board.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, for all of our viewers, everybody watching this is that I interact with pretty much the same crowd that you do. And a lot of my podcast interviewees, they want to be on board. So this will be a key resource going forward. And then Martin also has a podcast. So for everybody watching, yes, I will be making introductions to many of you. So you can get to know Martin and his team. Martin, this is really about Boardsi and kind of what you see in the industry. So it's amazing what you're doing for founders and CEOs and execs for boards. But some of the things that you're seeing in the industry and the shifts, like, can you get into some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've experienced our own shift, just like I explained, from becoming a simple job placement to now diving into really the details. You know, how do we make our members be ready and be actually effective board members beyond their skill set? And so that's where all those tools came in handy, and we put together a brand new platform, and it's been great. That you can look in the board space and you can look at companies that are coming out that, you know, there's another in board space. You have board tools, you know, taking notes, meetings, minutes. You have so many different tools, board presentations. And there's been companies that have been out for a long time, not to name drop anybody, but due diligence has been around for a really long time. And all of a sudden, now you got new companies coming out. I had a CEO of a company called Zec. They kind of play word on deck, but it's Zec. And it's they took an old platform and completely re-engineered it, utilizing a lot of AI tools, and just made it a lot quicker for anybody to put together a board meeting, take notes at the board meeting, allowing board members to jump in and maybe see the highlight of financials. And by clicking one click, really, if a board member wants to dive into the details, not every board member wants to. So some of them are happy with seeing the highlights. Some of them dive in deeper to look what's going on. So just seeing what AI has done and the companies that are coming out saying, hey, you know what? We know this product has been out for a long time, but here's a better version of one now. So just overall seeing technology grow at lightning speed has been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the things that you were telling me the other day about your platform and how it's evolving, right? Touch on a few of those things, because I think one of the things that I talk to other founders and CEOs about is that their apprehension about, hey, I've never been on a board, right? So for those people, right, your platform, you're telling me, using some of these AI tools is better preparing them, and not only that, but matching them to the right boards using AI, right? So you want to kind of hit on a few of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So of course, you know, we have members that have been on boards, they have board education, and we have members that are new to it. Whether you have board education, whether you don't, having those tools on our platform, I mean, it's always great to go and run through a course and get a refresher. Maybe you're going to pick up on something new. Maybe you haven't taken a cybersecurity and what that means on serving on a board. So we have 4 courses right now to help those executives. And in addition to that, I mentioned to you the new tool that we have, which is, we call it an executive impact report. So we put together now, in addition to a profile for an executive, now we take all the data, we smash it, and we create this impact report that's really meant for companies. And that's what we use when we introduce an executive to a company, not just the profile, but we also send the executive impact report, which really highlights key things that they want to see as a company. Before I choose to have Brent on my board, what is it that he can do for us? What kind of an impact can he have?
What's he bring to the table, right? Yeah.
Yes. Or as an advisor, what can he do? And that report really highlights those things, their achievements, their skill sets, and what level those skill sets are at. So it's just a quick way to establish whether this is the right executive or not.
It's almost like a board resume, except it's a much better thing for the board execs that are trying to bring on those board members, right? Because you showed me one yesterday. It's fantastic, right? It highlights the industries, the strengths they have, right, and what they bring to the table. And when you match that to a board that's what they're looking for, I mean, that's like, you're just a whole different type of board matchmaking platform. So, again, I'm telling you, tons of our interviewees and viewers are going to want to talk to you about that because it's a natural progression, right, in everybody's career, because it also gives them exposure to different industries and solving different problems that not only that they can impact, but they can bring back to their prospective companies. Talk to me about things that you're seeing across industries, right, or a few stories that you may have about placing board members, because I mean, no, you have a zillion of those.
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple, but I'll tell you one that has nothing to do with the board that I found really interesting. Actually, two of them. So I have a friend. He's been a friend for a long time back in California before I moved to Vegas. And he's older. He's in his 60s and lost his job due to he really believed where he was working at and in the founder. Even though he saw issues ahead, he's stayed strong with them. He's done a lot of great things for the company. But at the end of the day, that founder really made the company fall apart, found himself looking for work. So talk to me, is there anything you can help out? I'm not looking for a board position. What advice do you give me? I started doing executive coaching. So, I mean, he's making all the right moves at an older age. So I said, hey, join the platform, get on there, get your executive impact report. And by utilizing those tools, he was able to line up some actually interviews that have nothing to do with board positions, but actual work. So just seeing his career being highlighted and the things he has achieved, I was like, wow, this executive impact report isn't just good for boards. It's actually great for even a regular job and career paths.
Well, and right? Executives don't go on job boards, right? It's much more of an inner circle relationship, and you have those relationships. So that's amazing. And I can imagine that becoming another thing that could potentially dovetail from your platform.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely already had talks about that.
Always innovating,
always thinking what's the next thing we can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one story, a couple different stories. Helping a company bring on diversity onto their board. And literally about 5-6 months later, watching them go public was pretty awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. Having a really funny one. This was actually a couple years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. A company that was so detailed about who they wanted that after the first wave of executives we put in front of them, they came back and said, you know what, these two are great, but our dream would be that skill set, but with a female and a mom. We want a mom, somebody that has kids. And to even be more specific, kids in this age group. I mean, we're talking about
really specific.
Very specific. And there was reasons behind it. I'm not going to disclose the company, but
it makes sense, especially if the product line matters up to that. But yeah, absolutely.
So that's exactly why. It was a specific app geared towards moms, and they wanted somebody in that executive level that had that experience.
Yeah.
So it took us about an additional 3 months. And the funny story is the fact that the board member that got the opportunity to interview and ended up being on the board joined us, and like literally 30 days later got flagged in our system. We're like, oh my gosh, this is her. So we sent it, and boom, she got interviewed and she got on board. So it was just took forever to find that person because it was so detailed. So a lot of people don't realize that we're at the mercy of the company and the third party. It's not like
absolutely
we can use. So yeah.
But the cool part is, as I think about the story you told me yesterday, about how the AI tools that you're starting to infuse, how they can do that faster, better, and more accurately than anything that like you said, sometimes that's impossible with the amount of executives that are in the database.
Yep. The amount of executives, and trying to, compare that to the amount of opportunities we have. Yeah. There's not enough manpower to go through that stack of paperwork. But with AI, it's like having 1,000 people working for you, shuffling through paperwork and just doing matchups. So yeah, it's pretty amazing what we've been able to do just in the last few months, and just the level of service that we can provide is just it's going up, and we're not done yet. So
yeah. Yeah, continuous improvement, continuous innovation, right? That's the coolest part of where we are right now. So give us your perspective on that kind of just at a big picture level, right? What you see for founders and CEOs, especially you have a really unique perspective in being able to interact with so many across so many different industries, so many different boards. So just any perspective that you can kind of give to folks watching.
Yeah, well, I'll give you one perspective, and we talked about it yesterday, was I'm still blown away how many of these executives haven't even touched or looked at AI.
Yeah, we talked about I'm still
Yeah,
blown away.
it still amazes me. It's like, I think people are scared because it's AI, and I think people need to realize that it's an assistant. It's like your helper, whether it's you personally or whether, like you were talking about, building a custom one for the entire team. But the things that it can do to support you, support your staff, and really, it's like fertilizer for your lawn or for your garden. It's like it just makes it better.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And for folks watching, and listening, Morgan and I talked about yesterday, and Morgan and I talk quite often, but, eh, the, when you can train an AI LLM model with all of your company's data, what you're basically doing is giving it 10, 20, 30 years of data, right, about your company, how it operates. And all it's going to do is help you. It's going to and suggest ways to make it better, make it more efficient, right, and help grow the revenue in ways you're not thinking about today. If you think about one of the biggest things, I had a podcast interview a few weeks ago, and he said, Brian, he goes, what people don't understand, he goes, but every founder and CEO that's been through any sort of knowledge transfer knows that is a long and expensive process. AI wipes that clean. Like it fast tracks it at lightning speed. Is that your experience, especially the stuff you're telling me you're doing at boards?
Yeah, no, 100%. And we have specific bots trained in a specific way. I mean, if we ask the bot, hey, what's the mission, vision, values of Boardsi, it knows what it is. So everything's driven towards that. But even like ideas and innovations, we can run that through there and say, hey, we've done this. Is there any other value we can bring to our executives? What are we missing? So it's just always there to improve the process.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Tell me a little bit about, before we get into some of the wrap up questions in a few minutes, I really want to get your perspective on what you see in the next 1 to 2 years, right? Whether it's in your own industry, in the tech industry in general, right? In the SaaS world, because again, you and I play in the SaaS world a lot. But what do you see as you look down 1 to 2 years?
I mean, ever since I can remember in the tech world, speed, size, storage wise. I mean, I remember when I got my first hard drive and got off of the floppies. And I'm not talking about the hard floppies. I'm talking about the really...
Yeah, the real floppies, right? Yeah.
Hating myself now.
I remember them, so I'm with you.
I got an external 20 megabyte hard drive. 20 megabytes.
Right. And that was a big deal, right?
I was told I'm crazy. Why did I buy a 20 megabyte storage? You will never run out of space.
Right.
I mean, I got Excel spreadsheets that are more than 20 megs right now. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's crazy, right?
So just seeing that and thinking all the way back in that time, and then how quickly we went from like, 20 megabytes is nothing to just this growth, and then quote unquote cloud storage. I mean, storage is storage.
I was going to ask you to compare this AI versus the adoption of cloud, right? Because we had similar, if not worse, pushback on cloud.
Way worse. The fear factor, way worse. And now it's like people don't even think about it. People don't even talk about it.
Think twice, right?
Yeah. Who's not using the cloud? I mean, we're all using at some point. So, and then now seeing the growth, we've been talking about AI for a long time, and now it's in front of us, and it's just being fed this data more on a daily basis. I mean, biggest case usage is, you used to Google for things, and then you Google the next thing, and then Google the next thing, and then Google the next thing. And then you're in that big old rabbit hole of Googling things. And next thing you know, 4 hours went by and you're still doing the research, which, by the way, was way quicker than going down to that library.
Yes.
Going through it.
Exactly.
That's my day.
Yeah.
Now it's even quicker. Like the power of AI, and say, hey, I need a full research, and give me a report with reference links. Boom, done. On whatever that subject is. And then you go do your research, click the links and read.
30 seconds, right? And then you start doing your research, and it takes you, what used to take you days and hours on end, now it takes you a few minutes.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen AI apps with for fast reading. I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's some kind of an app. I haven't tested it out yet, but you put it on top of a book, it recognizes what book it is, and then it starts reading the book in like super fast. So you can sit there and read a book pretty quickly. Most people don't realize when you're following, and I actually did a little test, when they're just displaying one word at a time, your brain can read super quick, even if you don't think you're a reader, versus seeing a book and reading line by line.
I've seen research on that, right? Because I was trying to do the speed reading, right? To speed things up. That's a great, you got to send me that out, because I'm definitely going to try it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But it's like, okay, so now we're adapting all this. So instead of, taking a week or 2 weeks reading a book, you're telling me I can do it in 2 to 3 days. That's all.
And if you want the cliff notes, you can do it in
AI
5 minutes. Right.
Exactly. So I'm seeing adaptation of AI and increasing knowledge. I'm not seeing what people have been talking about, the fear of, this is going to make people dumb. Like AI is just going to do everything. I'm seeing the positive. Now, of course, if I want to go down the rabbit hole, it's going to make everybody dumb. Sure. I mean, we've been thinking about that ever since technology has been getting better anyway. So the rabbit hole, sure. If that's how you think. But
cloud computing was going to make all sysadmins irrelevant, right? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
But if you look at it the positive way and say, what can it do for me to make me better? Then use those tools for the positive way and learn from it.
Yeah.
So,
And so, well, I'm going to let you answer kind of what you see just real quick, because I know you have some really cool AI examples I want to get to, but tell me a little bit about, like, as you look down the road in 1 to 2 years, besides the AI, right? Because that's a no brainer. It's AI or die. Like if you're watching my podcast, you know that I am a glass half full. It's what Martin and I talk. Like we're both, the opportunity is huge, right? And we're forward every time we interact with someone who is afraid or just hasn't played with it because they're busy doing other things. And that what they don't realize is that the AI could take away half or more of what they're spending their time in, and they can free themselves up. But we call them digital assistants or digital coworkers. So again, I'm going to hit on that 100 times, but tell me what else you're seeing as you look ahead in tech and SaaS, because huge part of our viewership is tech and SaaS.
Yeah, no, I think, of course, AI, we can talk about it forever.
We're coming back to it in a second. So
I was going to say, as a matter of fact, that's all we've been talking about in our company. But I think that ease of, this is going to go back to AI anyway. So let me try really hard to think outside of AI and what else is great.
Well, let me kind of frame it. So I always say, where AI, data, automation, RPA, robotic process automation in manufacturing and robotics, all that stuff to me is coming down the pike quicker than we realize. But the other thing I was going to ask you is, do you see consolidation in platforms? Because one of the gripes I get from other CEOs are, God, there's like 700 tools to solve one problem. Like, which one do I pick? How do I do?
Yeah, no, I am starting to see it actually. In the beginning, or like midway through last year, where I started seeing was same products, but better. Same product, but better. What I'm starting to see is products that maybe started with like basic, whether it's AI or not, but basic format of something, are now bringing the other little tools into that tool. And they're actually being, I think, in my opinion, more successful than those tools that were disconnected. They didn't have that baseline figured out. So I think the companies that have been around longer, that have that baseline, that can now bring and add value in. It's almost like Google, right? Google started as your most basic search engine.
Right.
And then, they're adding news and, Google Maps, and we can go on
Email,
and on.
right? They're the biggest email. Well, there is that they weren't, right? Yeah, exactly.
But it's all based on that solid base that they started with, which was simple, but it gives them leverage.
Yeah. Amazon, same way, right? They grew their product lines and everything else, but who would have thought that they would have become, the biggest cloud service in the world, right? Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So let's circle back, right? Because you've done some really cool things internally and for yourself with AI. And so give some founder level personal stories that you've done with AI.
Yeah. So I played with so many AI tools on my own time, like in the evenings. My wife's like, "Hey, are you coming to dinner?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be there in a minute." I just knew it's like a toy.
Yeah.
I've done everything.
It's like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From funny videos to, I'm like, holy cow. And every time I'm like, well, maybe not the funny video, but every time I'm like, wow, that's actually really cool. How can we use this? So instead of fearing away from him, I'm like, how can we adapt this into Boardsi? How can this be twisted, modified, changed? Is there any benefit out of that? And of course, right away, I call our CTO. I'm like, hey, have you seen this? And he goes, yeah, been waiting for you to call me about it. So we're like in sync on that. But I've played with just about everything out there, and I love discovering new tools and always thinking of ways to adapt them. Personally, of course, I started with ChatGPT, dove right in. I'm like, wow, this is pretty wild. And it's gotten so much better. And I've gone in and actually trained a ChatGPT to think more like me, write like me, answer like me. I can almost have a conversation with myself on it. Done what some of the people have done, trained a video. So it actually, and I got my voice laid over. So literally, I can have a conversation with myself.
Did you do like an 11 Labs voice or something like that?
Yeah, I started with 11 Labs. And then I went to, I'm trying to think of the name. It starts with HY. Hi.
I know what you're talking about. I have it in my leg. Like, I have tools for everything. Yeah. Cheat sheet. Yeah.
I did that. There's quite a few I've played with and trained, and I've had a company I talked to. They just as a side service, they did a bot for me, just for the fun of it. I thought that was pretty funny, but those are the fun things. And when I do them, I always do it. I put myself as a guinea pig. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's see how good it is. And then let's see how we can take that and put it into business, put it into Boardsi. Can we use this, or is this just a waste of time? Let's not even worry about it. Or is it just not ready yet?
Right.
And that's personal side.
Yeah. And, and you've written a book, you've uploaded that, right, to, as you trained your Martin AI, right? And I feel like, founders that want to buy some time back and spend some more time with their families or their hobbies, right? Get on the golf course. You need a U.AI, right?
The funny thing is, I didn't even have to upload my book. It actually was already in there. That scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, it can.
I was like, this book? And they're like, The Corporate Matchmaker by Martin. I was like, hey, God.
Well, and I'm working on a pet project to offer out to as many people as I can, which is, you've already built one internally, but I want to build that and offer that out so people have whatever their company name AI, right? So their whole team can interact, and it's just for their company. And the reason is because I feel like that gets people over the fear fast. Like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do all this stuff. Yeah. How could it know this much about it? Like, I'm working with a client right now, right? I don't know if I told this story yesterday, but I'm working with a client right now, and I watch them go through their SharePoint and look for documents. And I'm like, how is this happening in 2025? Yeah. Right? Like, how is this? Like, put an AI agent in there and make everybody, it'll go find anything you want. They have thousands of decks, right? No one could find anything, right? And they're like, oh, we'll just reorganize SharePoint. I'm like, what? Like, it's just crazy to me. right? That they're using stuff that's, 15 years old or more in their thinking, and they're so inefficient. And I'm like, you wonder why you don't have enough hours in the day. And that's their number one complaint, right? There's not enough hours in the day. I'm on too many meetings. I'm like, well, you know what? If you had an AI meeting note taker and action item, right? I told you about the one company that I talked about. They built their own off of Fireflies.
Yeah.
And they have an action word that creates a Jira ticket and assigns it to the person right during the meeting. Like, it's brilliant, right? And it's not hard. Like that. And that's what people don't realize. It's not hard. So anyway, you've had so many, any other cool things you've done with the AI lately?
I mean, there's a lot that I don't want to dive into details, but yeah, we have a lot of stuff on the back end of Boardsi, helping, our employees with the matchmaking, scheduling interviews. I mean, you name it. It's either, we're adding 10 employees or we're finding a way to automate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'll ask you the last question, right? You want to grow Boardsi over the next 12 months. You probably have internal targets, right? You don't need to share any of that. But what is if you could wave a magic wand and get over one hurdle that'll let you hit that or exceed it, what would that thing be?
Hurdle. For us, I think it's always been the same hurdle, and it just keeps getting bigger. We always jump over it. We always make it, but it's never good enough for us.
Right.
So,
and that's a great CEO right there.
And we keep increasing like, hey, we can do better. We got to get better. So anybody that has ever entered our space, the hardest part, of course, for a new company in recruitment, and they want to recruit at the highest level possible, is convincing the companies who we are, what we do, and why are we so damn good at it.
Your value, right? You're so valuable.
Yeah. So that's always been the hardest part. And then the trickiest part of that hard part is, how do you take this big funnel, thousands upon thousands of companies, and narrow it down to the companies that possibly would be wanting to talk to us? They're looking for advisors. They're looking for board members. They're in their growth mode. Like, what are those flags that we can look for to identify it? And of course, all about data, which is why we're best friends. But identifying those companies is the trick, right? So we got good at that, narrowing that down. We got good at communicating. We got good at getting. And then, of course, you get good at it, and then it kind of levels out, but you want to grow. So then it's like, what's the next thing? So I would say, and again, in the last 3 months, we've gotten really good at it. I mean, we're bringing on more than 3 companies a day, Monday through Friday. So we're doing great. But I would like to do 5, 7, 8 companies every day.
Absolutely. Right.
I would say if there's a magic one and I was to hit it, then our server would be blowing up with companies coming our way. Yep. And they should, because the impact that we can bring with our executive network is phenomenal. And no company should be happy with where they're at. They should be growing.
Yeah. And for you already have the system. For you, it's scaling, right? No doubt about it. If you can do 3 a day, you can do 8 a day. Yeah. Because there's enough companies out there. So Martin, I love talking. You and I could talk for hours on this stuff. So for anybody that is watching this and, wants to talk to Martin's team about a Boardsi and what it would take and what that process is, Martin, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you guys?
I think the best way to get hold of me is on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there. I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. My website, personal website, martinrowinski.com. Also
and we'll link it all below the podcast.
Awesome. So yeah, LinkedIn, my personal website, which is going to get updated here shortly, waiting for the company to finish and wrap that up. But yeah, I would say LinkedIn is definitely the easiest way. And as far as Boardsi goes, obviously boardsi.com. If you're interested in being a board, you can schedule a call with any of our agents. If you're a company looking for advisors or board members, then there is a company page, and schedule your appointment there, and our B2B team will be in touch with you.
Excellent. Well, Martin, love having you on. I know we're going to do some follow-ups together for sure. For everybody that is been interviewed by me or is going to be interviewed by me on a podcast, most of you will get an intro to Martin organically because they're like a sister podcast for us. We interview the same types of folks, and we're very, very intertwined. So, Martin, thank you enough. Appreciate our friendship and love having you on.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Till our next episode. Thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.